All right.
Okay, it is 5:30, so let's call the meeting to order. Roll call, Mr. Hines is present, Mr. Jackson. Present. Mr. Weddle is not. Mr. Paddock? Yes. We do have a quorum. First item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from the November 10th meeting. Everybody get a chance to review. Anybody have any questions, or would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
Move that we approve the minutes as distributed.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Any audience requests? None. Mr. Manager.
All right, good evening. Here for another board meeting. So I'll start out with normal fuel numbers. Our low lead, I'll do the year-to-date stuff. So we're up almost 5% year-to-date for low lead, with a total of 71,781 gallons. That's up just over 3,000 gallons from last year in November. Year-to-date for Jet A is 136,058 gallons, which is 42% above what we did last year, which that's 40,000 gallons more than what we did last year is what it equals to. So total, kind of a milestone marker, we've sold 207,839 gallons now at the end of November. So we broke that 200,000 gallon mark. That really, I don't remember us ever selling that much fuel in the 26 years I've been here. So
Great.
it's really good. Yeah, I mean, last year we came close. I think we were at 180 something thousand. So, but we beat that by about 15% now. So, our turbine traffic is even for the year to date, and that helped with us being an increase of 21%. Well, that's been good. Got a couple of projects. Looking to get the airport, the outside repainted and the inside, the common areas repainted on that. We got a contract with All In Painting for that. They were originally scheduled, I think I said last month, they were planning on coming in on November 29th, but they had some kind of a conflict come up. So they have us down for the 20th, but in talking to them, I said, hey, if you have anything that can be done earlier, see if we can get it done earlier instead of waiting another, till the 20th. It's a couple of weeks away. And then the second thing is the remodel in our bathrooms. And this is something we've been trying to get quotes on for the past couple of years, actually, but never really seemed to get any response back from people that I've reached out to. But we did get one now through a company called Pro Trades, and they came in at an amount they can do both, basically remodel both bathrooms for $33,775. So I had budgeted $35,000 for the project, so it's a little bit under that. So I was wanting to seek approval of a bid with Pro Trades to remodel both bathrooms in the FBO in the amount of $33,775.
I'd move that we approve the contract to remodel the bathrooms with Pro Trades in the amount of $33,775.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you. And then lastly, our year-end carryover purchase orders, which I think are in front of you, Scott, somewhere. I right here actually. I don't know. So that's our carryovers for the end of the year, basically, that we can use when we have our invoices come in January. We can use this year's budget to pay for them instead of eating into our new budget. I'd like to seek approval of the 2021 carryover purchase orders.
And how, refresh my memory on this, we'll pay these in January?
Yeah.
What's the benefit of not paying
or
them
sometime next year.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Come out of the budget for this year?
Yeah.
So basically, it's got to be a budget it's got to be an item that's related to 2021. So work that happened in 2021 that we're not going to pay until 2022, but we don't want that money to get eaten out of the budget for next year, so we carry it over if we still have an excess budget amount sitting there. So that's kind of how it works. You just want to, if you don't do a carryover, then you start eating into the 2022 budget for something that was related to 2021. If that makes sense.
The easiest analogy would be like our fuel purchases that we make in December. They won't be due until January. So we carry over some of the 21 budget to help pay for the fuel budgets that we actually did buy in 2021.
Yeah.
I get that. It's just a big chunk of change.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being this big in the past.
That's because we got big project with Hanson coming
up. So the amount is $306,532.66. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the carryover list for 2021.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
And that'll conclude my report. If you guys don't have any questions for me.
Thank you, Rick. Let's see, how about corporate counsel?
Nothing for me. I was going to present the pro trades contract, but Rick just had to take all the glory. So nothing for me.
To keep you from getting passed over, who owns Pro Trades? I feel like I know.
Daryl Stone. I think it's Daryl Stone.
Adam Stone,
Adam Stone's
dad.
Oh, okay. That's not what I thought it was.
I believe it's Stone.
Okay. Controller financial report.
Yep, so we'll go through this fairly quick. Looks like the period balance here for revenues was 123,000. So we took in 123, most of it being fuel revenue and hangar rental. Expenses were 127. And I kind of chatted with Rick before this. The bulk of that is because we bought some more fuel. That's why we had that additional appropriation recently. So that's why the expenses are a little higher than normal. We bought some additional fuel. So the net for the month's negative $4,000 approximately, and then the reserve ratio is still right around 36–37%. We look at the next page. We've just got the revenue and expense composition. Basically, the net of that, the net from fueling operations is 341,000. The net from base operations is actually a loss of 293, which gives you an overall year-to-date income of 48 if you take the difference between the two. So fueling is definitely carrying us.
Always has. Any questions? All right, engineer report.
Okay. A couple items for you tonight. Signatures. Just an update on the apron expansion project. We've been talking to the county for the permit we need, basically, because we're approaching our legal drain with Pleasant Creek and moving some outfalls. Are putting that together. In our coordination, they recommended that the board request a fee waiver because you're a governmental agency. And so bring that forward this evening because we're anticipating a January submittal to be on hopefully the February agenda for that review. Don't anticipate any issues because we've already gone through the state permitting, but it's one of the things we need to obtain. And just kind of summary on the grant. Once we take care of the annual reports, which is the next item, the AIP 32 grant has been taking care of some of that administration we completed since we purchased the credits. So we'll be closing in the AIP 36 again, we purchase the credits early next year. We'll be closing it. Won't be any additional draws on the AIP 36 grant. There'll be one final grant draw on the AIP 32. It'll be quite up to the total, but be down to probably $1,000 or $2,000 or less remaining. So we'll use that one. AIP 34 will remain open since that's funding the design. That was a two-piece grant going forward. So kind of long and short, asking for approval for Scott to sign a letter requesting a fee waiver from Johnson County for the Pheasant Creek encroachment outfall permits.
I would move that we approve the fee waiver request for Johnson County Pleasant Creek encroachment and outfall permits.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, on the annual reports, there are two separate reports. The first report for the AIP grants covers the 3 open grants. And then the other one, we only need to file the COVID grant where there are funds that have not been drawn down, because where we've drawn all the other grants down, we've submitted a final, basically a pay request, so they have the same data as the 425 form. So requesting approval for the submission of the SF 425 and 271 forms for the AIP grants 32, 34, 36. That's a combined submittal. And then for the submittal of the AIP 37, which is the airport recovery SF 425, because we have not done any grant draws. The COVID one goes to headquarters address, the other one goes to the airport's district office.
Let's tackle that one.
I move we approve of the submission of the FAA SF 425 and SF 271 forms for AIP 32, 34, and 36, and SF 425 form for AIP 37 for annual reporting.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, next is just the status update. There have been no pay requests since the last meeting, so there's no changes there. The capital improvement program had a good meeting with NDOT. Their goal is still to fund the project, although they did request, if possible, to use bid alternates. Not sure with the work being done, how feasible that will be, just in case they need to juggle some dollars around to try to fund all the projects they program on that. Hopefully, we'll get ours bid. We'll be working with them to identify when we should be bidding the project, because under state code, a contractor only is required to hold the bid for 60 days. We don't want to bid it too soon and then have the contractor back out, particularly where construction prices right now are so variable, but can't wait too long because they need the application for the grant. So that's just a communication item. The other item that the state's really encouraged, and this is a change from a preliminary one we shared last month, is to add in state local grant projects. They're continuing to work towards funding that program again, and particularly where they've had 2 years where they have not needed to do a state match because grants were 100% funded. They may have some funds available, and an airport needs to have made the request to be eligible to be considered if they do get grant funding. So working with Rick, we've identified 2 projects we've added as state local candidates. The first one in 2024 is replacing the aviation fuel system. And the other we put in 2026 is the stone level equipment building. The aviation fuel system, since you have an existing system, likely will not have any pieces eligible for AIP funding. So a state local grant would be an asset if it becomes available. The construct snow removal equipment building could be eligible as an AIP project, but this might allow it to occur sooner. So that's one we're submitting it, but it's in more of an out year. When I shared the CIP, we had essentially a placeholder for the place fuel system, $750,000. That's a good price for putting in the new system. We've done some additional research to take out the old tanks in case there's any mitigation needed, and then also to extend 3-phase service so you can have faster delivery rates for jet fuel. Probably the overall estimate would be a little bit over $1 million have put it together in the process of getting that reviewed, and once it is, approved, it will have Rick sign off on that. Included for your review, the draft CIP, there'll also be detailed cost estimate for the state. They're due in February, but since it's set, if you approve it, we'll work with Rick to get finished signing and get it in well before the due date. So looking for, if you have any questions on the CIP, happy to answer them, or otherwise, approval for Rick to sign the forms and then submit it to him.
Does the new fuel system include the self-fueling station?
Yes, the self-fueling would move over to still maintain that capability.
If we don't get the grant, what, we just stay with what we have then basically?
Well,
we have budget to replace those anyway.
We were planning on maybe replacing it anyway down the line. And then this state local share came up that we really weren't counting on. So if the state's willing to pay like 50%, I think is what that is, right?
The state
Then of it, then as opposed to us paying all 100% of it, the state chips in 50%. I thought that'd be a good avenue to go by.
No guarantee of funding. It's been a lot of years since they've had money in the state local, but Marty Blake, who leads that group, is continuing to try to get that funded.
We were in the budget process, I think, talking meeting with Jared and Greg too. Our tanks are kind of getting to the point where insurance is getting pretty expensive. And so that's similar to what DPW ran across, right? That's why they put in new tanks. That insurance was getting pretty much too high to insure. They're at the age of the tanks. So this is kind of why we were bringing it up, and then they said, well, as long as we plan for it, a couple of years out, we can budget for it and get it taken care of. And this might enable us to get it done a little earlier than normally what we originally planned for.
The other reason PennDOT asked for it to include is they need to be making the case that there's a need for the grant funding.
And dumb question, I should know the answer to this, but we're just above ground storage tanks, right?
We're underground.
We are underground?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the new one, I believe, would have to be above ground. I think that would be the way to go anyway. It's easier to inspect and
Doing away with underground storage.
mm-hmm, they're doing away with them. So
How many years are they usually good for before you need to replace them?
well, our system was installed in '98.
Okay.
So it's
Problem is they keep changing regulations.
mm-hmm.
It can be perfectly functional, but
Yeah.
obsolete.
Yeah, the regulations are, they're getting to the point too where that's becoming a factor, because some of the systems out there are pretty fancy. We don't necessarily have that, which kind of makes our inspections go a little bit easier. But overall, though, that's the downside of it too. Just kind of get, oh, well, you don't have this, you don't have that. No, it's put in over 20 years ago. It wasn't an issue then. So, but yeah, I think they'd be above ground tanks moving forward.
I think that'd be preferable. So do we need a motion for Rick to be able to sign?
I would move that we approve the airport manager to sign the CIP forms and submission of CIP to NDOT.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, and last item, and I just sent you a link because the plan's 50-some pages thick. With the upcoming expanded apron project, needed to establish again DBE, disadvantaged business enterprise goals for the project, and there's a whole series of calculations in there, but the recommended goal subject to FAA review is 5.63%. So when we would put together the bid pack and put it out, we'd be asking any prime contractors that are not DBE, which typically is the case, project this size, to look for disadvantaged business enterprises that could be subcontractors to them in at least that amount. We set a goal for them, and it is a goal. If they can't meet the goal, they have to show good faith effort that they've done the outreach and tried to get participation. But if they recognize at the end of the day, it's a little bit situation. So they just need to keep good documentation. As part of the plan update, we need to offer a public meeting. We did that today at 3, as anticipated. We didn't have anyone come, but we did send out notice to the certifying agencies that with the state and the city, just so they're aware of it. But they had access to the plan online, so they can also review it, send in any comments. Comments are open through the end of December, because they need to be at least 30 days. So what looking for is approval of the DB plan and to submit the FAA subject to addressing any comments we might receive on the plan.
I move for approval of DPE plan and submission of FAA subject to addressing any comments received on the plan.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
And that's all I have in my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any board requests? Have a claims docket in the amount of $334,743.57. Would you like to make a motion to approve?
I would move we approve the docket total of $334,743.57.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Aye, motion passes. We have anybody from the city that wants to talk?
Scott, may I say something?
Absolutely.
And this isn't on behalf of the mayor or the deputy mayor, but I'd just like to commend both the board and Rick and Susan for how well things are going. And you've been around here a long time too, Scott. You know how things have changed, and it's great to see it going so smoothly and us moving forward and able to accomplish things we never dreamed of being able to do. So
Absolutely agree. And
it took us a long time to get on the right road, to get on the steady road. But
yeah, it was, I don't know if it's too harsh to say it was a mess, but
I think that's pretty accurate.
it's significantly better now.
And Susan's done a good job picking up, and we had a smooth transition from Ken. And so it's a team that makes it happen. But it really, it's obvious that it's coming together.
Yeah, thank you. Our next meeting then is January 13th at 5:30 here, and we are adjourned. Appreciate everybody coming out.
Thank you.
Christmas, everybody.
You too.